12 months since we launched AfCoDD 1. This time we're here in person, where we had over 150 people participating, and last year we were virtual because of COVID-19. AfCoDD 2 has been pretty amazing because when we launched the African Conference on Debt and Development in 2021, one of the major outcomes from that conference was the Harare Declaration. And the clarion call then was that we needed to reform the global architecture, we needed to change it, and really it needed to start from ourselves here on the continent, and we needed to start making this idea that African agency was important and critical for reforming and changing the global financial architecture. 12 months later, a lot of things have happened. We've of course, COVID-19 impacts have continued to be there. We've had the Ukraine-Russia conflict. We have the climate emergency, which are all adding to the different types of multiple crises that are taking place globally, but the impact on Africa is very severe, whether it's on our economies, whether it's on our people. And so in AfCoDD 2, we decided, you know what, we're tired of talking about recovery from COVID, recovery from climate, recovery from the conflict, but really we needed to reform the architecture. And so this is something that formed part of the theme of the conference this year, and using the elements from the Harare Declaration, the outcome document from the first AfCoDD last year, around an accountability mechanism, around advancing the African financial architecture as in the Abuja Treaty, and really just debunking this neoliberal paradigm under which we have been pursuing our growth and development agenda, which has not worked in the African context. I was just talking to a few people here that saying, by the time we're coming to Malawi a few weeks ago, the number of African countries that have now written to the International Monetary Fund seeking assistance due to the deep impacts of the conflict, of COVID, and so on, is just another reminder that the global order is not working for Africa and for African citizens. So therefore, in AfCoDD 2, the idea really is to come up with a new idea, a different model. And the mantra that was, the foundation that was laid from this was, through the keynote address, through the welcoming address as well, about dismantling the architecture and replacing it with an African designed, African developed, and African motivated agenda. And the document that has a lot of this is not only the Abuja Treaty, but there's also the Lagos Plan of Action, which, as we heard throughout the conference, was undermined by a different type of report that gave or put wind in the sails of the Bretton Woods institution. So the idea really has been to try and come up with an alternative model, to come up with a different way of thinking about how we can actually get Africa to reclaim its agency politically, economically, and socially. We've had 2.5 days of really exciting conversations, and really what has come out of this is that we are only going to achieve this idea of Africa being the rule maker through us. For us starting looking inwardly first, looking at these really important foundational documents and taking the bull by the horns. If we really want to and truly want to dismantle the architecture and replace it with one that works for the continent, we need to internalize these very important foundational documents that had been developed by our founding fathers.
Policies and practices that put people first. We call for policies and practices that put people first.